Hi lovelies, welcome back to the channel Expert Empire. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to draft a full-scale basic bodice block. This works for every size and is easy to draft. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time I post a new video. So let's dive right into the tutorial. I'll be using a pattern paper, measuring tape, marker pen, the armhole curve, and pattern master to draft these bodies. Okay, first thing I'll do is to rule a straight line that will serve as the starting point as well as the shoulder line. Next, I'll take the full measurement of the front bodies and I'll go ahead and rule a straight line across. We're making use of this measurement for this tutorial. The required measurement is the full length, half length. For the front is 16 inches while the back is 14 inches. The bust is 38, the waist, the upper hip, the shoulder, the bust point, bust pan, under bust, and arm side or armhole. Next, I'll mark the bust point across, which is 10.5 inches for me, and I'll rule a straight line. I'm taking my vertical measurements first, guys. Next, I'll take the under bust measurement. For me, it's 14.5 inches. I'll mark it across and as well rule a straight line. What I'll do next is to take the shoulder measurement. Then the neck width is 3 inches, the depth is 3 inches as well. Sorry guys, it went a little bit off focus. And I'll use my curve rule to draw the neckline. Next, I'll take my shoulder slant, which is 1 inch, and then draw the slanted line. To get the accurate chest line, the first method is to divide your bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 inches, which I just did. So for me it's 8 inches. I'll just rule the straight line across. That will be my chest line. The next is to use 9 inches, which is standard, and you'll be taking down 9 inches from the shoulder line, guys, not the slanted line. Then the third one is to measure your armhole. Now I'll connect the shoulder slant to the chest line. After that, I'll divide what I have there into 2 and mark, then go in by ½ inch. I'll divide my bust measurement by 4 and mark it on the chest line. I'll go ahead and label the chest line, shoulder line, bust line, under bust line, and the hip line. Next, I'll connect the shoulder slants, midpoint, and bust measurement together using the armhole curve, and when I measured that angle, I had 0.75 inch. Now I'll divide my bust pan or nipple to nipple measurement by 2 and mark it on the bust line, under bust line, waistline, and hip line. Then I'll connect it with a straight line. From the bust point, I came down by 1 inch. So the standard starting point of the front dart from the shoulder is 12 inches, while the end point is 22 inches, or better still, go up by 2 inches on the hip line. I'm sorry, I forgot to input the waist length earlier, so I'll just go ahead and do that now. Then draw a straight line across. On the waistline, I'll mark 0.75 inch on both sides as my dart intake. Then I'll go ahead and connect the points together. If you are a regular size, for instance, bust 32 to 36, you can use 0.5 inch. And for plus size of bust 38 and above, you can use 0.75 to 1 inch as your dart intake. On the waistline, I divided my waist measurement by 4 and marked. Then I measured my dart intake, which is 1.5 inches, and replaced it as shown. On the hip line, I divided my upper hip measurement by 4 as well and marked. Now, I will connect the bust, the waist, and hip together. To get the side bust dart, I'll come down by 2 inches from the bust line and connect it to the bust point. This 2 inches is the difference between the front waist length and back waist length or half length. If you are a plus size, that is bust 40 and above, come out by 1 inch from the bust point and connect it to the side bust, okay? Note that the tinier your waist, the more curvy the pattern will look at the waistline. But then, regardless of your shape, lovelies, embrace it because you're unique. So now, I'll go ahead and cut out the front pattern using a paper scissors. To draft the back pattern, I ruled a straight line at the top, which will be the shoulder line. From the shoulder line, I measured the bust point and waist length, then drew straight lines across. I also measured the back length and ruled a straight line as well. I went ahead to label the lines accordingly. To get the back length, subtract the side bust dart from the full length of the front pattern, or measure what you have from the waistline to the hip line of the front pattern and mark the same value on the back pattern as well. Next, I marked the shoulder, and for the neckline I measured 3 inches width and 1 inch depth. Then I connected the points together. I came down from the shoulder line by 1 inch, so I'm basically repeating what I did on the front pattern. Okay, I'll divide my bust measurement by 4 and mark on the chest line, then connect it to the armhole, and when I measured that angle I had 1 inch. I went ahead and divided my bust band, which is 8 inches, into 2, and that gave me 4 inches. So I'll mark that on the chest line, bust line, waistline and hip line, then connect with a straight line. On the waistline, I'll go ahead and mark my dart intake of 0.75 on both sides. I'll go up by 2 inches on the hip line, then connect the points together. Note that the dart starts from the chest line. Okay, next I'll mark my waist measurements, measure the dart intake and replace it back, then mark the upper hip measurement. After that, I'll connect the bust, waist and hip together. To eliminate back bulge, I'll go in by ½ inch on the waistline, then connect it downwards 2 inches above the hip line and upwards above the chest line. I'll go ahead and cut out the back pattern with a paper scissors. So guys, if you noticed, I did not add seam allowance to the block, and this is because a block, which is also called a sloper, is a master or foundation pattern that is used to make other patterns. Therefore, the block does not include seam allowance. You can only add seam allowance to each pattern pieces after you have traced and drafted it out from the block or sloper. I hope this makes sense. Now the front and back blocks are ready, and as you can see, the armhole curve of the front is more inward than the back. Also, the back neckline is higher than the front. Now let me show you what the side front and side back looks like. As you can see, the front is longer than the back, but don't worry, I'll fold this side dart in to show you that they will eventually become equal. Okay, and you don't have to worry about the front length because it's going to be the same with the back eventually. So loves, this full scale basic bodice block can be altered to make any style or design of your choice. All you have to do is just work your way around it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, comment and share with your friends, and please turn on your notification bell so you get notified each time I post a new video. See you in my next one. Bye.